A modest restaurant corner, barely more than a cramped alcove lit by a single flickering candle that casts jittery shadows across the checkered tablecloth. Adrian Choi kneels on one knee, his left knee, the one that's been aching from 12-hour shifts at the construction site. In his hand, a small velvet box holds a ring he bought with money scraped together from 3 jobs he worked simultaneously: construction by day, deliveries at night, weekend shifts at a warehouse. The diamond is small, honest, real. Across from him, Lim Sol-gi stands frozen. Her hands hover near her mouth, trembling, but not with joy, with something that looks like terror.
I can't do this.
Adrian's hand stays extended, the box still open. His heart hammers against his ribs.
What do you mean, Sol-gi?
His voice is steady, but his eyes aren't.
I worked 3 years for this.
That's the problem. She wraps her arms around herself. I can't go back to struggling. I've seen what life could be, Adrian. Real security, real stability. And I want more than what you can give me right now. The words land like stones. I'm so tired of being afraid, she whispers, and her eyes glisten. Afraid of unpaid bills, afraid of choosing between groceries and rent. I watched my mother live like that her entire life, and I swore I would never end up the same way. Adrian's throat tightens. But I'm building something. You know I am. The stock market analysis, the investment strategies I've been studying. Studying doesn't pay rent, Adrian. Her voice hardens. Dreams don't put food on the table. We're not on the same level anymore. I have opportunities now, real ones. And love. She pauses, the word hanging between them like smoke. Love isn't enough. She turns. She walks toward the door. Adrian doesn't stand. He watches her silhouette move through the dim restaurant, past other couples sharing wine and laughter, past the waitress who had smiled when he'd asked for the corner table, past the life he thought they were building together. The ring box closes with a soft click. That sound echoes longer than it should. Welcome to K-Stories by Emma. Before we continue, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any story. 3 weeks after Sol-gi walks away, Adrian sits on the floor of an empty apartment. The eviction notice is taped to the door. Red letters, bold font, final warning. He's read it 17 times, and each time the words blur a little more. He hasn't eaten in 2 days. He doesn't care. The apartment smells like old takeout and regret. The furniture is already gone, repossessed last Tuesday by men in blue uniforms who wouldn't meet his eyes. Now it's just him, the stained carpet, and the echo of footsteps that no longer belong to anyone. Adrian's phone buzzes on the floor beside him. Unknown number. He stares at it until it stops. It buzzes again. This time he answers. Mr. Choi? A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. This is Midwest Collections Agency calling regarding account number 47729. You owe $8,347 for educational expenses processed under your name. Payment was due September 15th. It is now November 2nd. The money he borrowed for Seolgi's last semester. The loan he co-signed because she said her financial aid hadn't processed yet. I don't have it, Adrian says. Then we'll need to discuss a payment plan. He hangs up. The phone buzzes again immediately. He turns it off. At work the next morning, Adrian is 23 minutes late. His supervisor, a man named Dale Zimmerman, who smells like burnt coffee and disappointment, pulls him aside near the loading dock. Joy, what's going on with you? Adrian stares at a smudge of grease on the concrete floor. Nothing. Nothing? Dale crosses his arms. You've been late 6 times this month. You missed an entire shift last week. Yesterday, you loaded the wrong pallets under the wrong trucks, and we lost a contract because of it. Adrian says nothing. Dale exhales slowly. Look, I've tried to work with you. I know you're going through something, but I can't keep covering for you. He pauses. Then he says the words Adrian never thought he'd hear. You're done here, effective immediately. Adrian nods once. He walks out of the warehouse without collecting his final check. Within a month, the apartment is gone. Adrian finds himself on the streets of Kansas City, not because he lacks intelligence or skill, but because heartbreak shattered the discipline that had held him together. The stock market books he used to study every night sit in a storage unit he can no longer afford. His clothes fit differently now, looser around the shoulders, tighter around the desperation. He doesn't beg, he doesn't ask for help, he just exists. He watches other homeless people fight for scraps outside a Burger King on 5th Street, watches them argue over a cardboard box that's only slightly wetter than the others, watches them move with a kind of frantic energy he doesn't recognize in himself anymore. He feels disconnected, like he's watching his own life from outside his body, like he's already a ghost. Winter is coming. The nights are getting colder, the kind of cold that seeps through layers of fabric and settles in your bones. Adrian's hands shake when he tries to hold them still, not from the temperature, from something deeper. He realizes he's disappearing, not dying, fading, becoming invisible. Is this what happens when you give everything and receive nothing back? When you pour yourself into someone else's future and wake up with none of your own? On his 7th night on the streets, huddled under a highway overpass near the westbound exit of Interstate 70, Adrian pulls his jacket tighter and closes his eyes. The sound of traffic hums above him, 18-wheelers rattling past, cars full of people going somewhere. Then he hears it. A voice. Calm, clear, completely out of place. You're going to freeze if you stay there. Adrian's eyes open slowly. A black woman stands a few feet away, holding a folded blanket. She's maybe late 20s, early 30s, hard to tell. Her posture is too upright for someone living on the streets, her shoulders too square, her gaze too steady. She's wearing a faded gray hoodie and jeans that have seen better years, but something about her doesn't fit, like she's playing a role she never auditioned for. "Who are you?" Adrian's voice comes out rougher than he expected. She doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she steps closer and hands him the blanket. Their fingers don't touch. "Someone who knows what it looks like when a person stops fighting," she says quietly. Adrian stares at her. Her eyes hold something he can't name. Not pity, not sympathy. Recognition. "What's your name?" Adrian asks. She tilts her head slightly, studying him the way you'd study a broken watch, curious if it's worth fixing. "Tamra," she says finally. "Tamra Cole." And then she walks away, leaving Adrian holding a blanket that still carries the faint scent of lavender soap. He doesn't know it yet, but that blanket and the woman who gave it to him will change everything. Over the next 4 days, Adrian watches her, not with suspicion, with confusion. While others huddle under bridges with shoulders hunched and eyes darting, Tamara sits with her back straight, even on cardboard, even in the cold. She positions herself near the underpass where morning light hits first, and she reads actual books, their spines cracked from use but their pages carefully turned. On the second day, Adrian sees her share half a sandwich with an older man whose hands shake too much to hold it steady. She doesn't make a show of it, just breaks it, hands it over, keeps walking. On the third day, he hears her speak to a woman having a breakdown near the overpass guardrail. Her voice is clear, calm, not the fractured syntax of someone whose mind is unraveled. She talks the woman down in under 3 minutes, then stays beside her until the shaking stops. Adrian can't figure her out. On the 4th evening, as the November wind cuts through the underpass and most people retreat deeper into shadows, Tamara sits near a small fire someone built in a metal drum. She's heating something in a dented can, soup maybe, or broth. Adrian approaches slowly. His boots scrape against gravel. She glances up, no surprise, like she expected him. "You going to keep staring," she says, "or are you going to sit?" He sits. For a while, neither speaks. The fire crackles. Traffic hums overhead. "How did you end up here?" Adrian asks finally. Tamara doesn't look at him. She stirs whatever's in the can with a bent spoon. Wrong trust, wrong timing, one decision at the worst possible moment. She says it like she's reading a weather report. No self-pity, no drama. Adrian waits. Tamara exhales slowly. "I worked in corporate administration for a mid-sized firm. Accounting systems, payroll processing. I came to the US from Cape Town when I was 19, full of ambition, full of hope. She pauses. Someone forged my signature on financial documents, debt manipulation, fraud. When the whole thing blew up, I had no family here to vouch for me, no legal resources to fight back. My credibility was destroyed overnight. She finally looks at him. Her eyes are steady, unflinching. The system doesn't give you a way back up once it decides you're guilty, she says quietly. Doesn't matter if you actually are. Adrian feels something tighten in his chest. Tamara didn't lose her mind. She didn't lose her dignity. She lost everything external, but something inside her stayed whole. He's both inspired and ashamed, because he gave up, and she didn't. Tamara begins asking questions after that, not intrusive ones, gentle ones. What did you do before this? Construction, deliveries, warehouse work. What were you good at? Adrian hesitates. Numbers, stock patterns, market behavior. What did you want? He doesn't answer that one. But her questions plant seeds, small, uncomfortable seeds that make him remember the man he used to be, the blueprints he studied, the investment strategies he mapped out on graph paper at 2 a.m. One night, nearly a week after they first spoke, Tamara mentioned something her grandmother taught her back in Cape Town. Umtu, num umtu, ngabantu, she says softly. The words roll off her tongue with a rhythm Adrian doesn't recognize. What does that mean? A person is a person through other people. She looks at the fire, not at him. We become who we are because of each other. Even in the hardest seasons, we carry one another. The proverb settles in Adrian's chest like a foreign warmth, a truth he's been living without knowing its name. He tells her about Siogi that night, about the 3 jobs, the borrowed money, the ring, the rejection. Tamara listens without interrupting. When he finishes, she's quiet for a long time. Then she says something that shifts the ground beneath him. You didn't fail because she left you. Adrian looks at her, confused. Tamara meets his eyes. Her voice is firm, clear. You failed because you stopped believing you were worth betting on. The words hit like a fist. Adrian opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. But before he can respond, footsteps crunch behind them, heavy, deliberate. 3 men emerge from the shadows. One holds a crowbar. Nice fire you got there, the tallest one says, grinning. We'll take it from here. Tamara doesn't flinch. She looks at the man with the crowbar and says calmly, "Fire's not yours to take." The man laughs. "Everything out here belongs to whoever's strong enough." "Then you should know," Tamara says. "There's a patrol that comes through here every hour. They're due in about 7 minutes." The men exchange glances. 30 seconds pass. Then they walk away. Adrian exhales. Was that true? No, Tamara says, but they didn't need to know that. You stopped believing you were worth betting on. The words haunt Adrian for days. On the 5th morning, he walks to a temp agency. The woman behind the desk looks at his stained jacket with disgust. Day labor, Adrian says. Anything. She slides a clipboard across. Warehouse, $12 an hour, cash daily. The warehouse smells like diesel. The work is brutal. Unloading trucks, stacking boxes, moving pallets until his shoulders burn. But this time, Adrian shows up on time, finishes every task, saves every dollar. At night, he returns to the public library and studies stock market patterns the way he used to, obsessively, carefully. Tamara notices the change. She doesn't praise him, just nods once. Good, keep going. For the first time since the proposal, Adrian feels something flicker. Not hope yet, but discipline, the muscle memory of effort. Tamara didn't pity him, she challenged him, and somehow that matters more than comfort ever could. 3 weeks into the job, Adrian overhears 2 men arguing near the loading dock. Sell now, one says, panic in his voice. The stock's down 18%. The other man, gray at the temples, shakes his head. It feels wrong. It's going to 0, Vincent. Get out. Adrian keeps his head down. but he's been watching that pharmaceutical stock for weeks. Without thinking, he speaks. Don't sell. Both men turn, stare. Adrian sets down his sandwich. The drop is algorithmic panic. The company just got FDA approval. The stock will correct in 72 hours. Sell now, you lose. Hold, you're up 30% by Friday. Silence. Vincent studies him carefully. Who are you? Nobody, just someone who reads. Vincent's eyes narrow. You sound confident for a guy unloading trucks. Adrian meets his gaze. I'm confident because I'm right. Vincent checks his phone. His eyebrows lift. Why are you lifting boxes? He asks slowly. Adrian doesn't answer. Vincent follows him outside during break, asks more questions. Adrian answers each one with precision. Risk patterns, behavioral trends, optimal timing. Vincent pulls out a business card, expensive stock, embossed letters. I'm giving you $5,000 to invest. If you're as good as you sound, we'll talk again. Adrian stares at the card. It feels like a door cracking open in a room he thought was sealed forever. That night, he returns to the overpass, shows Tamara the card. She studies it, then looks at him. This is your moment, she says quietly. Don't waste it trying to prove something to her. Prove it to yourself. Adrian nods, but deep down, he knows he's already started. And 300 miles away, Lim Sul-gi scrolls through her phone, a mutual friend's post, a photo. She clicks and freezes. Vincent Cross transfers $5,000 into an account Adrian opens at a credit union on Wednesday morning. It's a test. Adrian treats it like his life depends on it, because it does. He doesn't gamble, he calculates. Every trade is researched at the library until closing time. Every risk measured against 3 different models. He buys low on a biotech stock everyone else is abandoning, holds through the panic, sells at the correction. Within 3 months, Vincent's $5,000 becomes $8,200. Vincent calls him on a Saturday. You weren't guessing. No, sir, Adrian says. I'm introducing you to some people. The people are small investors, cautious ones. They give Adrian modest amounts, $2,000 here, $3,000 there. He treats each dollar like it's his last. 6 months in, he's managing $40,000. A year in, 6 figures. Within 2 years, Adrian moves from the streets to a studio apartment in Westport. It's small, the heating barely works, but it's his. Within 3, his name circulates quietly in Kansas City financial circles, not as a showman, as someone with an unusual gift, emotional control when everyone else is panicking. Adrian begins to see himself differently, not as the man Sulgi rejected, not as the guy sleeping under an overpass, as someone building something real. He stops checking her social media, stops measuring his worth by her absence. He's becoming whole. Not because of wealth, because he's proving something to himself that no one else can validate. Success brings new pressures. Bigger investments mean bigger risks. Sleepless nights analyzing European markets, Asian futures, commodity shifts. Clients expecting miracles, demanding explanations when returns dip even 0.5%. But Adrian thrives under pressure now. His past taught him something the others never learned. He knows what it's like to lose everything. So he never takes anything for granted. One evening in late November, 3 years after Tamara handed him that blanket, Adrian receives a call from a regional investment firm in Charleston, West Virginia. They want him to manage a growing portfolio. The salary is substantial, the opportunity real. Adrian accepts. Before he leaves Kansas City, he returns to the overpass one last time. Tamara is still there, still helping others navigate the system, still carrying herself like royalty in exile. She looks up when Adrian approaches. Something flickers in her eyes. Not surprise, recognition. He kneels beside her on the cold concrete. Come with me, he says. Tamara's expression softens, but she shakes her head gently. Not yet. Why not? You're not ready to carry someone else's weight. Her voice is kind but firm. And I'm not ready to be carried. Adrian feels the rejection settle in his chest, but this time it doesn't break him. It clarifies him. Then I'll come back, he promises. When I'm ready, when you're ready. Tamara smiles faintly. I know you will. Adrian stands, looks at her one more time, then walks away. He doesn't know that in Charleston, in a glass office overlooking the Kanawha River, Lim Seol-gi is scheduling a wedding venue tour. He doesn't know that the photo she saw, the one that made her freeze, was him, shaking hands with Vincent Cross at an investor dinner, looking healthy, looking whole. He doesn't know she's been tracking his name in financial journals for 6 months. And he definitely doesn't know that the wedding invitation being printed at that exact moment has his name on the guest list. Because Seol-gi's fiancé, Gerald Thornton, went to business school with Vincent Cross, and Vincent can't stop talking about his genius find from Kansas City. Small world. Adrian stands in a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the Kanawha River. The skyline glows amber and violet in the fading light. Below, the city moves like a living thing. Cars threading through streets, lights flickering on in office buildings, people rushing home to families. He's built an empire here. His investment firm, Choi Capital Management, occupies the 14th floor of the Henderson Tower. His name appears in the Charleston Gazette-Mail's business section twice a month. He's moved from studio apartment to penthouse to a private estate 15 miles outside the city. But success hasn't made him arrogant, it's made him reflective. Every night before sleep, Adrian remembers the streets, the smell of diesel and desperation, the sound of traffic humming overhead while he shivered under a highway overpass. He remembers Tamara's voice. You stopped believing you were worth betting on. He hasn't forgotten his promise. Adrian realizes wealth doesn't feel the way he thought it would. It's not victory, it's not vindication, it's responsibility. He begins thinking beyond profit margins and quarterly returns, about legacy, about purpose, about the people still sleeping on cardboard in cities across the country who just need someone to believe they're worth the investment. One afternoon in mid-October, his assistant, a sharp woman named Keisha Barnett, delivers a stack of business correspondence. Adrian sorts through it absently: contract renewals, meeting requests, an invitation to speak at a financial conference in Chicago. Then his hand stops. Buried among the envelopes is one that doesn't belong: cream-colored, gold embossing, expensive paper stock. He almost throws it away. Then he sees the return address. His hand freezes. The name printed in elegant script on the corner: Lim Seol-gi. Adrian's heartbeat kicks up, just slightly, just enough to notice. He sets the other mail aside, picks up the cream envelope, turns it over. The seal is unbroken. He opens it slowly. Inside is a wedding invitation. Thick cardstock, calligraphy. Mr. Gerald Thornton and Ms. Lim Seol-gi request the honor of your presence at their wedding celebration. The date is November 16th, 6 weeks away. The venue, the Greenbrier Resort, White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Adrian stares at the invitation. Gerald Thornton. The name rings a bell. Old Charleston money, the kind of family that built their fortune over generations through real estate, manufacturing, political connections. The kind of wealth Seol-gi always wanted. Adrian reads the invitation again, then a third time. He doesn't feel anger, doesn't feel the sharp edge of vindication. He feels something stranger. Empty, as if the past has finally caught up to him, but he's no longer the same person it's looking for. He sets the invitation on his desk, stares at it for a long moment. Then he picks up his phone and dials. Keisha answers on the second ring. Yes, Mr. Choi? Clear my schedule for tomorrow, Adrian says. I'm flying to Kansas City. Business trip? Personal. He hangs up, looks at the invitation one more time. Then he walks to the window. The city glows below him, lights reflecting off the river like scattered stars. He made a promise 3 years ago. It's time to keep it. That night, Adrian books a flight, packs a single bag, leaves instructions with his team. He doesn't tell them why he's going. He doesn't tell them about the overpass, about the blanket, about the woman who reminded him he was worth betting on when he'd forgotten completely. And he definitely doesn't tell them that somewhere in Kansas City, Tamara Cole is still helping others find their way back. The overpass looks the same: concrete stained dark from years of weather, graffiti layered like history. But Tamara is different. Adrian finds her exactly where he expected, near the underpass where they first met. But she's not alone. 7 people sit in a rough circle around her. She's holding a clipboard, talking. Job applications need 3 things, she says. Contact information that works, references who will actually answer, and honesty about gaps in employment. One man raises his hand. What if the gap is 5 years? Then you explain it. Tamara's voice is patient but firm. Homelessness isn't a crime. It's a circumstance. Own it. Move forward. Adrian parks his rental car 50 feet away, watches. Tamara glances up. Their eyes meet. Something flickers across her face. Recognition, maybe relief, but she doesn't stop. She finishes her sentence, answers 2 more questions, hands out photocopied resource sheets. Then she stands, brushes off her jeans, walks over. You kept your promise, she says. Adrian nods. I told you I would. She looks different. Her hair is pulled back. She's wearing clean clothes, simple but intentional. Her posture is still impossibly straight. You look good, Adrian says. So do you. Her eyes take in the tailored coat, the expensive watch. Charleston treating you well? It's been good to me. Tamara waits, patient, like she knows he came here for more than small talk. Adrian takes a breath. Come with me, to Charleston. I'll set you up with an apartment, a job at my firm, financial security, everything you need. Tamara listens quietly, doesn't interrupt. When he finishes, she shakes her head. I don't need luxury, she says firmly. I need purpose. Adrian is taken aback. He expected gratitude, maybe tears. Instead, he gets a challenge. If you want to help me, don't give me charity. Build something with me, something that restores dignity to people like us. She gestures toward the group still sitting under the overpass. Not programs that make donors feel good. Real pathways back. Adrian stares at her. She's not asking to be saved. She's asking to be partnered with. And that changes everything. They spend the next 2 weeks planning. Late-night conversations in a diner called Mabel's on Troost Avenue, sketches on napkins, ideas scribbled on the backs of receipts, job placement partnerships with local businesses, financial literacy workshops that don't condescend, rehabilitation programs that treat people as investments, not charity cases. Adrian funds it, Tamara designs it. They name it the Second Climb Initiative. One evening, after a particularly long session, Tamara looks at Adrian across the table. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Their coffee is gone cold. Why are you really doing this? She asks. Adrian is quiet for a long moment. Because you reminded me who I was when I forgot, he says finally. I owe you more than money. Tamara's expression softens. You don't owe me anything. I do. No. She leans forward slightly. But I'll let you walk beside me. Something shifts between them. Not romantic, not yet, but deeper than friendship. A bond forged in the kind of fire that either destroys people or makes them unbreakable. They leave the diner just after midnight. The Kansas City streets are quiet, cold. Adrian's phone vibrates in his pocket. He pulls it out. A calendar reminder. Sol G's wedding, 2 weeks. He stops walking. Tamara notices. What is it? Adrian hesitates, then shows her the invitation he's been carrying since Charleston. Tamara's eyes scan it once. The elegant calligraphy, the expensive paper, the date. She looks up at him. Are you going? Adrian's jaw tightens. I don't want to go alone. Tamara studies his face for a long moment. Then she does something that surprises them both. She reaches out, takes the invitation from his hand, reads it again, slower this time. What's her name? Tamara asks quietly. Lim Sol G. The one who said no? Adrian nods. Tamara hands the invitation back. Her eyes are unreadable. Then, maybe, she says slowly, it's time she saw what yes looks like. Really? Then please come with me to the wedding, Adrian says. Tamara doesn't answer immediately. She studies Adrian's face in the parking lot light outside Mabel's diner. The street lamp casts shadows across her features. Why do you want me there? She asks finally. Adrian struggles to answer. The words feel heavy, complicated. Because I don't want to pretend anymore, he says. I don't want to walk into that room as if the past didn't happen, but I also don't want to walk in broken. Tamara nods slowly. And you think I'll fix that? Adrian shakes his head. No, I think you'll remind me I'm not broken anymore. The honesty hangs between them. Raw, real. Tamara looks away, thinking. Her breath makes small clouds in the November cold. Then she says, I'll go. Not to compete, not to prove anything, but to stand beside you with dignity, as equals. Adrian feels something loosen in his chest. Relief, gratitude, and something else. Something quieter, deeper. Something he doesn't have a name for yet. He's beginning to see Tamara not just as the woman who helped him survive, but as the woman he wants beside him for reasons that have nothing to do with the past. The next 2 weeks blur. Tamara moves temporarily to Charleston to help finalize foundation plans. Adrian sets her up in a furnished apartment 3 blocks from his penthouse. They work side by side daily at his office, reviewing budgets, drafting partnership proposals, mapping outreach strategies. The proximity changes things. Small touches become normal. Hands brushing over documents, shoulders nearly touching as they lean over the same laptop screen. Long silences that feel comfortable instead of awkward. Shared meals that stretch from lunch into evening conversations. One night, while reviewing quarterly budgets in Adrian's penthouse, Tamara falls asleep on the couch. Her head tilts against the armrest. Her breathing deepens into sleep rhythm. Adrian looks up from his laptop, notices her. He watches for a moment. Her face is peaceful, unguarded. The tension she usually carries in her jaw has melted away. Something tightens in his chest. He realizes he's terrified. Not of the wedding, not of seeing Solji again, of losing Tamara, of discovering that what he feels isn't reciprocated, of ruining this, whatever this is, by wanting more than she's willing to give. Adrian stands quietly, retrieves a blanket from the hallway closet, covers her gently. She doesn't wake. He walks to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, Charleston glows, lights reflecting off the Kanawha River, the city alive and indifferent. Inside, something fragile is beginning to grow. The morning of the wedding arrives cold and clear. Adrian stands in front of the mirror in his bedroom, adjusting his tie. Charcoal suit, white shirt. No jewelry except his watch. His hands are steady, but his heartbeat isn't. A soft knock at the bedroom door. "Come in," Adrian says. The door opens. Tamara steps through. Adrian's breath catches. She's wearing a dress, deep emerald fabric that complements her rich mahogany skin perfectly. The cut is simple, elegant, nothing flashy. Her hair is styled in soft, natural curls that frame her face. Small gold earrings, minimal makeup. She's breathtaking. Not because of the dress, not because of the styling, because of the way she carries herself, like she belongs anywhere she chooses to stand. "Ready?" she asks. Adrian looks at her reflection in the mirror. Their eyes meet in the glass. "I don't know," he admits quietly. Tamara steps closer. Her hand rests lightly on his shoulder. The touch sends warmth through the fabric of his jacket. "Then let's find out together," she says. Adrian turns to face her. They're standing close now, close enough that he can see the flecks of amber in her brown eyes. "Thank you," he says, "for this, for everything." Tamara's expression softens. "Don't thank me yet. We haven't walked through those doors." An hour later, they're in Adrian's car, driving toward White Sulphur Springs, toward the Greenbrier, toward Selji. Tamara stares out the window, silent. Adrian grips the steering wheel tighter than necessary. Neither speaks. And 90 miles away, in a bridal suite at the Greenbrier Resort, Lim Selji stands in her wedding dress and stares at herself in the mirror. Gerald is somewhere downstairs, greeting guests, playing the role of gracious groom, but Selji can't stop thinking about the guest list, about the name Vincent Cross mentioned 3 weeks ago, about Adrian Choi, about the man she said no to, the man she hasn't stopped thinking about for 6 years. Her hands tremble as she reaches for her bouquet. Crystal chandeliers catch the afternoon light and scatter it across marble floors. Silk drapes frame floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook manicured gardens. Cameras flash as guests arrive in tailored suits and designer gowns that cost more than most people make in a month. Adrian and Tamara step through the grand entrance together. Conversations don't stop immediately. They slow, shift, like water adjusting around a stone. Heads turn, subtly at first, then less so. Some guests recognize Adrian, the investor who built his fortune quietly, the man whose name appears in financial journals but rarely at social events. Whispers spread like ripples across water. That's Adrian Choi. I thought he was... Did you see who he's with? But the real attention isn't on Adrian. It's on Tamara. She isn't overdressed. No diamonds, no designer labels screaming for attention. Just the emerald dress and her natural presence. She isn't performing. She simply exists with a calm, grounded certainty that makes people look twice. Her posture is upright, her gaze steady. She holds Adrian's arm, not possessive, not clingy, just present. Adrian feels the old wound flicker. These are Selgi's people, her world, the world she chose over him, the world that once made him feel invisible. Then Tamara squeezes his arm once, gently, grounding. "Breathe," she whispers without looking at him. And he does. The anxiety doesn't vanish, but it doesn't control him either. They're escorted to a table near the back, intentionally distanced from the main family tables, where the Thorntons and Lims sit in matching finery. Around them, guests make polite conversation, but Adrian can feel the eyes, the curiosity, the judgment masked as interest. Then, across the room, he sees her, Lim Selgi. She's standing near the bride's preparation area, radiant and white, surrounded by attendants holding champagne flutes and laughing at something Adrian can't hear. Her dress is breathtaking, expensive, perfect. For a moment, their eyes meet. Her smile falters, just for a second, just enough. But Adrian sees it, the recognition, the shock, the regret that flashes across her face before she forces the smile back into place. An older Korean woman approaches their table. Adrian recognizes her, Solgi's aunt, Mrs. Park, someone who used to look at him with barely concealed disapproval when he showed up to family dinners in his warehouse clothes. She looks at Tamara with thinly veiled disdain, then at Adrian. "I'm surprised to see you here," she says coolly. Adrian opens his mouth to respond, but Tamara speaks first. Her voice is calm, polite, but firm. "Surprises are good for the soul," Tamara says. "They remind us that the world is larger than our expectations." Mrs. Park blinks, caught off guard. Her mouth opens slightly, closes. She walks away without another word, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. Adrian stares at Tamara. "You didn't have to do that." Tamara meets his eyes. "Yes, I did." Music swells from the front of the ballroom. The ceremony is beginning. Guests shift in their seats. Conversations die to murmurs. Then silence. Solgi appears at the end of the aisle on her father's arm. She's beautiful, poised, perfect, everything she always wanted to be. But when her gaze drifts, just briefly, toward Adrian and Tamara, something in her expression cracks. Not with jealousy, with something sadder. Recognition of a choice she can't undo. At the altar, Gerald Thornton waits, tall, distinguished, silver at his temples, old Charleston money in a custom suit. He smiles as Solgi approaches, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. Adrian watches the whole scene and realizes something. This wedding isn't a celebration, it's a performance. And somewhere deep inside, Solgi knows it. The minister begins speaking, words about love and commitment and partnership, standard ceremony language, but Adrian isn't listening, because he just noticed something that makes his blood run cold. Gerald Thornton is looking at Tamara, not politely, not casually, with recognition. The ceremony ends. Gerald and Solgi kiss to polite applause. The reception begins with champagne toasts and orchestral music. The ballroom gleams with wealth, gold-rimmed plates, crystal stemware, centerpieces that cost more than Adrian's first month's rent ever did. Gerald Thornton takes the microphone. His speech is polished, rehearsed, the words of someone who's never had to improvise in his life. Marriage, he begins, is about making wise choices, about building a future on stability rather than risk, about knowing when to walk away from uncertainty and invest in what's proven. The words are indirect, coded, but sharp. A few guests glance toward Adrian. The implication is clear. Sul-Gi made the right choice. She chose security over risk, wisdom over foolishness. She chose a man who came with guarantees. The room applauds politely. Sul-Gi smiles beside her new husband, but the smile is tight, controlled. Her champagne flute trembles slightly in her hand. Adrian feels the old wound flicker again. Not anger, not vindication, exposure, as if his past failures are being displayed for a room full of strangers who already decided he wasn't enough. Beside him, Tamara's hand finds his under the table. She doesn't look at him, doesn't whisper reassurance, doesn't make a show of comfort. She just holds his hand, steady, grounding. And in that simple touch, Adrian realizes something. He's not alone anymore. He's not the man kneeling with a rejected ring. He's not the man sleeping under an overpass. He's someone who rebuilt himself, and he has a woman beside him who sees that. After the speech, the energy shifts. Guests approach their table, some with genuine curiosity, others with barely concealed condescension. "Adrian, is that you? How have you been? What are you doing now? I heard you had some difficult years." Each question is a probe, a test, a way of confirming their own assumptions about who rises and who falls. Adrian answers calmly, professionally, tells them about Choi Capital Management, about his clients, about Charleston. But inside, he feels the weight of judgment pressing down like humidity. One woman, someone Adrian vaguely remembers as a former colleague of Solji's named Brianna Fletcher, turns her attention to Tamara. "And what do you do?" she asks. The question is loaded, dismissive. The tone says, "I already know you don't belong here." Tamara doesn't flinch. "I co-direct a foundation that provides job placement and financial literacy programs for people recovering from economic hardship," she says evenly. Brianna blinks, surprised. "Oh, that's nice. It's necessary," Tamara corrects, her voice calm but firm. The distinction lands like a period at the end of a sentence. Brianna wants away, uncomfortable, outclassed. Adrian looks at Tamara with quiet admiration. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. She just exists in her truth. An hour into the reception, the host, a polished man in a tuxedo, takes the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom have requested that we honor their commitment to philanthropy with a charity pledge segment. We invite guests to contribute to the Thornton Family Foundation, which supports various charitable causes throughout West Virginia. Large donations are called out, 5,000, 10,000, 20. Applause follows each one. Then slowly, Tamara stands. Every table nearby goes silent. Adrian's breath catches. He didn't know she was going to do this. Tamara doesn't look at Solji, doesn't look at Gerald. She looks at the crowd with calm, unwavering eyes. "I'd like to make a contribution," she says clearly. The host smiles. "Wonderful. And your name?" "Tamara Cole." "And the amount?" Tamara's voice doesn't waver. $50,000 on behalf of the Second Climb Initiative, a foundation dedicated to restoring dignity to those society forgets. The room goes completely still. The silence stretches. Every eye in the ballroom turns toward Tamara. Her voice cuts through the polite murmur like a blade wrapped in silk. "Years ago," she begins, her tone measured and unhurried, "I slept on concrete with no certainty of tomorrow." The room goes completely still. "I lost everything to betrayal. The systems meant to protect me offered no way back. I became invisible. One of the people society steps over and pretends not to see." A few guests shift uncomfortably. "Someone believed in me when I had nothing left to offer but resilience," Tamara continues. Her gaze shifts briefly to Adrian. "He didn't give me charity. He gave me partnership. He gave me dignity." She turns back to the crowd. "Second chances are not charity. They are investments, and the return, when given with dignity, is immeasurable." Silence swallows the ballroom. Not uncomfortable, reflective. Then applause. Real applause, not the polite clapping of social obligation. Respect. One person stands, then another, Then a dozen more. The applause grows, fills the space like a tide. Adrian watches, his throat tight, as Tamra is acknowledged not with pity, but with honor. Across the room, Selji's composure finally cracks. Her hands tremble slightly. Her smile falters. She sets down her champagne flute too quickly. It clinks against the table. She's no longer the star of her own wedding. Someone else has stolen the moment, not through spectacle, through truth. Gerald stares at Tamra with an expression Adrian can't read. Not quite anger, not quite respect, something in between. After Tamra sits, the energy shifts completely. Guests approach their table, not with condescension now, with genuine interest. A businessman from Huntington wants to discuss partnership opportunities. A nonprofit director from Wheeling asks about replication models. Business cards are exchanged, phone numbers written on cocktail napkins. Tamara handles each interaction with grace, listens carefully, answers thoughtfully, promises follow-up conversations. Adrian watches her and realizes she's not just standing beside him, she's standing in her own power, and it's breathtaking. An older black woman approaches the table. She's wearing a staff uniform, one of the wedding coordinators who's been invisible all evening, refilling water glasses and clearing plates. She leans close to Tamara. Her voice is soft, private. "Thank you for saying what needed to be said," she whispers. "My daughter, she's been through something similar, lost her job, lost her apartment. I'm going to tell her about your foundation." Tamara's eyes soften. She takes the woman's hand. "Tell her she's not invisible," Tamara says quietly, "and she's not alone." The woman's eyes well with tears. She nods once, then walks away before anyone notices she's crying. Adrian sees the exchange. Tamara didn't just speak for herself, she spoke for everyone in that room who's ever felt discarded, who's ever been looked through instead of looked at. 30 minutes later, as the reception continues with cake cutting and champagne refills, Solji excuses herself from the main table. Adrian watches her slip out through glass doors onto a private balcony. Tamara notices too. "Go," she says quietly. Adrian hesitates. "Are you sure?" Tamara nods. "This is something you need to finish. I'll be here when you come back." Adrian stands. His heart pounds as he walks toward the balcony doors. Behind him, the party continues. Music, laughter, the clinking of crystal. Ahead, through the glass, he can see Solji's silhouette, her back to the door, her shoulders tense. The woman who broke him waits in the fading evening light. Adrian pushes open the door. Cool November air hits his face. Solji doesn't turn. "I knew you'd come," she says quietly. For a long moment, neither speaks. The sound of the reception drifts through the glass doors behind them. Muffled laughter, clinking glasses, music. Then Solji's voice breaks the silence. "I didn't know." Her voice is quiet, fragile, nothing like the confident woman who walked down the aisle 2 hours ago. "When I left you," she pauses, takes a breath. "I thought I was choosing survival. I thought love without security was foolish." She finally turns to face him. Her makeup is still perfect, but her eyes are red, welling. "I was afraid of becoming my mother," she continues, "of watching everything collapse around me, of being trapped in poverty for the rest of my life, of choosing wrong and paying for it forever." Adrian listens, says nothing. The words spill out of her like a confession held too long. "I didn't understand that you were building something real. I only saw what you weren't yet, the struggle, the uncertainty, the jobs that didn't pay enough. I couldn't see the man you were becoming." A tear slides down her cheek. She doesn't wipe it away. "I hope she sees you the way I didn't," Solji whispers. Adrian feels something shift in his chest. Not vindication, not anger, not even satisfaction. Closure. He realizes Solji wasn't a villain, she was just afraid, and that fear cost them both something, but it also freed him to become who he is now. "I don't hate you," Adrian says finally. His voice is calm, honest. Solji looks at him, waiting. "But losing you forced me to confront who I was without validation. I needed that pain. It broke me. Then it rebuilt me into someone I actually respect." Solji's tears fall silently now. She nods. I know. I just wish I'd been brave enough to stay and see it. The balcony door opens. Gerald appears. His expression is tight, cold. Silji, they're asking for you inside. His tone is polite, but underneath is steel. He glances at Adrian. The look is brief, but loaded with suspicion, with ownership. Silji wipes her eyes quickly. I'll be right there. Gerald doesn't leave. He stands there, waiting, a silent assertion that she belongs to him now. Finally, he turns, walks back inside. Silji looks at Adrian one last time. Be good to her, she whispers. She's the kind of woman who makes you better just by being near you. Then she walks away, the white dress trailing behind her like a ghost. Adrian stands alone on the balcony for a moment longer. He realizes something as he watches her disappear into the ballroom. She's not happy. The wedding, the wealth, the security, it's all a cage, and somewhere deep inside, Silji knows it, but it's too late to turn back now. He feels a deep sadness for her, not pity, just the quiet grief of watching someone choose safety over freedom and live with the consequences. Adrian walks back inside. Tamara is waiting at their table, exactly where she said she'd be. Her emerald dress catches the chandelier light. When she sees his face, she doesn't ask what happened. She doesn't press for details. She just stands, takes his hand. Let's go, she says softly. They walk out together, past the crystal chandeliers, past the guests still lost in champagne and small talk, past the life Adrian once thought he wanted. As they step into the cool evening air, Adrian feels lighter than he has in years. Not because he proved anything to Silji, but because he finally let her go. The valet brings Adrian's car around. He opens the passenger door for Tamara. She slides in, looks up at him. You okay? She asks. Adrian nods. Yeah, I think I finally am. They drive in silence for the first 20 minutes. The Greenbrier disappears in the rearview mirror. Then Tamara speaks. There's something I need to tell you. Adrian's hands tighten on the steering wheel. What is it? Tamara looks out the window. The West Virginia landscape blurs past. Dark trees, empty roads. Gerald Thornton, she says quietly. I know him. Adrian's foot nearly slips off the gas. What? Not personally, but he's connected to the company that destroyed my life. The fraud case, the forged signatures. She turns to face him. His family's investment firm was the primary creditor pushing for prosecution. They wanted someone to take the fall. I was convenient. Adrian's mind races. Does he know who you are? I don't think so. It was 6 years ago. I looked different, and people like him don't remember faces of people they've crushed. Silence fills the car. Why didn't you tell me? Adrian asks. Because tonight wasn't about revenge, Tamara says firmly. It was about you finding closure, about us standing together. If I'd told you, it would have changed everything. Adrian pulls the car to the side of a quiet overlook. The Kanawha River stretches below them, reflecting Charleston's scattered lights. He turns off the engine. Silence settles around them. You didn't just stand beside me in there, Adrian says. His voice is low, thick with emotion. You protected me. Tamara turns to look at him. Her expression is soft but firm. No, she corrects gently. I reminded you who you are. Adrian stares at her. Then he laughs, once, quiet, not with humor, with something deeper, recognition. You're right, he says. He reaches for her hand. This time, it's not for grounding, it's for connection. Tamara's fingers curl around his, warm, real. I don't know how to thank you, Adrian says. You don't need to thank me. You would have done the same for me. Adrian realizes she's right. Their partnership isn't built on debt. It's built on mutual respect, on seeing each other fully, flaws, scars, strength, and choosing to stay anyway. The air between them shifts. Adrian looks at her, really looks at her. The curve of her jaw, the steadiness in her eyes, the quiet strength that has anchored him through everything. Tamara, he says softly. She meets his gaze, waiting. He hesitates, then speaks the truth he's been holding. I don't want this to be temporary. The foundation, us. I don't want to go back to a life where you're not in it. Tamara's breath catches, just slightly. What are you saying? Adrian's thumb brushes across her knuckles. I'm saying I'm falling for you, and I don't know when it started. Maybe that first night under the overpass, maybe every conversation since. But I know I don't want to lose you. Tamara is quiet for a long moment. Then she leans forward, rests her forehead gently against his. I've been falling too, she whispers. I just didn't know if you felt the same. The confession hangs in the small space between them. Then, slowly, Adrian cups her face with one hand. His touch is gentle, asking permission. Tamara's eyes flutter closed. She nods, barely. And then they kiss. It's not rushed. It's slow, tender, a meeting of two people who have survived too much to take anything for granted. When they finally pull apart, both are breathing unevenly. Adrian rests his forehead against hers. Stay with me, he whispers. Not because you need me, but because you want to. Tamara's hand finds his chest, feeling his heartbeat beneath her palm. I want to, she breathes. They drive back to Adrian's penthouse in charged silence. Inside, the city glows beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Adrian pours 2 glasses of water, his hands slightly unsteady. Tamara stands near the window, her silhouette framed by light. She turns to face him, and in her eyes he sees everything he's been too afraid to name. Come here, she says softly. 6 months later, Charleston's autumn air carries the smell of rain and change. The Second Climb Initiative has expanded beyond what Adrian and Tamara first imagined. 3 cities now, 12 partner organizations, hundreds of people given second chances, not handouts, but pathways. Today, they're opening a new office in Kansas City, returning to the place where both their stories began. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is small but meaningful. Former program participants stand at microphones, sharing what the foundation gave them. Not just jobs, dignity, not just money, belief. A man named Darius Washington speaks about landing his first stable job in 4 years. A woman named Rochelle Baptiste talks about rebuilding her credit and signing a lease for the first time since losing everything. Tamara stands at the podium, poised, powerful. The emerald dress replaced by a simple navy suit. Her natural curls frame her face. We're not here to rescue anyone, she says to the gathered crowd. We're here to walk beside people as they rescue themselves. The applause is thunderous. After the ceremony, Adrian and Tamara walk through the old neighborhood, past the overpass where they first met, past the warehouse where Adrian's second chance began. Everything looks smaller now, less frightening. It's strange, Tamara says quietly. This place broke us, but it also made us. Adrian takes her hand. It didn't make us, it revealed us. They stand in silence for a moment, honoring the past without being trapped by it. That evening, back in Charleston, Adrian leads Tamara to the penthouse rooftop. The city stretches below them, glowing in the twilight. The Kanawha River reflects the fading light like liquid copper. Tamara notices something different. Soft lights strung overhead, a small table set for 2, candles flickering in glass holders. What is this? She asks, smiling. Adrian's hands are in his pockets, his expression nervous in a way she's never seen. This is me being honest, he says quietly. He steps closer. 6 years ago, I knelt down and offered someone everything I had, and she said no. His voice is steady now. It broke me, but it also freed me. Tamara watches him carefully. You didn't just help me rebuild, Adrian continues. You helped me become someone I actually want to be. He reaches into his pocket. Tamara's breath catches. But instead of a ring, he pulls out a small wooden carving, a pair of hands clasped together. This is a Korean symbol, Adrian explains. Jung. It's a bond that forms through shared time, shared struggle, shared meals. It's deeper than love. It's chosen family. He places the carving in her hands. I'm not asking you to marry me tonight, he says. I'm asking if you'll build this life with me, slowly, intentionally, as equals. Tamara's eyes well with tears. She holds the carving close to her chest. Yes, she whispers, 1,000 times yes. 1 year later, a quiet Sunday morning, rain taps against the windows. Adrian wakes first. Beside him, Tamara sleeps peacefully. Her natural curls spread across the pillow. One hand rests near her face. The Foundation's annual report sits on the bedside table. Another successful year, another 100 lives changed. Adrian doesn't reach for it. Instead, he watches Tamara wake slowly. Her eyes find his. She smiles. He smiles back. No words needed. Outside, the city continues its rhythm. Cars moving, people working, life happening. Inside, two people who were once broken have built something unshakable. Not a fairy tale, not revenge, just a life. Built on ashes, built on truth, built on the quiet belief that second chances, when given with dignity, are the most valuable investments we can make. And in the stillness of that morning, Adrian realizes something. He's finally home. This story reminds us that the most powerful transformations happen not when someone saves us, but when someone believes we're worth saving ourselves. That dignity isn't something given, it's something recognized. And that love, real love, doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be seen. How did this story make you feel? Have you ever been in a place where one person's belief in you changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. We truly want to hear what's in your hearts. If this story touched you, please like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to K Stories by Emma for more stories that celebrate resilience, dignity, and love that crosses every boundary. Thank you for staying with us until the very last word. Wishing you abundant health, joyful days, and the courage to bet on yourself even when others won't. See you in the next story.